Nobody came to fetch them, and when they woke up, everything was dark. Owls were hooting, and strange birds were squawking. The heart of the wood was certainly an eerie place. Gretel started to cry, and Hansel comforted her by saying, "Dear sister, look at the full moon smiling down on us. His silvery light will show me the path of breadcrumbs I scattered on the way. We'll be back home in no time." Straight away, Hansel started searching for the crumbs. "That's strange. The crumbs have gone," he thought. The birds of the forest had eaten them all up. "I'm sure we can still find a way out," he told Gretel. They both wandered about all night, desperately trying to find their way back to their father's cottage, but they could not find a path out of the wood. At last, they were so tired that their legs couldn't carry them any longer, and they both lay down under a tree and went to sleep. In the morning, they set out for their father's cottage once again. But wherever they wandered, they just ended up more lost than before. At midday, they saw a little white bird sitting on a branch. The little creature led them to an incredible house. Its roof was made of cake, with a thick layer of icing and cherries on the top. The windows were made of spun sugar and crystal sweets. "Ooh, delicious!" cried Hansel. "Scrumptious," said Gretel. Hansel broke a piece of cake off the side of the roof. "This is the best cake I've ever tasted," he cried. And just as he was about to take another huge bite, a shrill voice called out from inside,
"Who's there? Who's nibbling my house?"
Suddenly, the door of the candy house opened and an old witch hobbled out. When she saw the two children, her voice softened a little. "Come in, my little ones," she said. "You'll come to no harm in my cosy little cottage." The old witch led Hansel and Gretel into the house. She knew how hungry they were, so she prepared a fabulous meal for them. There were glasses of milk, cakes, and bowls full of apples and nuts. "Eat up, my dears," said the old witch. "You look as if you need fattening up." Soon they were so full that they could hardly move. The old witch had prepared two lovely little beds for them. They were made of the softest feathers, and when they lay down on them, they fell asleep straight away. Well, it certainly seemed as if the witch was friendly, but she wasn't as friendly as she appeared. She'd been waiting a long, long time to catch some children. In fact, she found that they were so hard to come by that she had built the special candy house in the woods just to lure them in. While Hansel and Gretel were sleeping in their beds, she took a little peek at them. "They'll make a nice, juicy meal," she said, licking her lips. The next morning, as Hansel and Gretel were just waking up and talking about their good fortune, the old witch grabbed Hansel and dragged him into a little cage.
Let go of me!
She locked him in there. He screamed to be let out, but the old witch didn't care.
"You can scream as much as you like, my boy, but I'm not letting you out,"
she said. Then the old witch dragged Gretel out of her bed.
"Come on, lazy bones,"
she said.
"Fetch me some water and cook something for your brother. When he's fat, I'll eat him all up."
Gretel cried bitterly, but it was no use. The old witch felt no pity. All the best food went to Hansel, and Gretel got nothing but bones and scraps to eat. Every morning, the old witch hobbled over to Hansel in the cage and said, "Put out your finger, my boy, so I can feel how fat you are." Day after day she did this, but she couldn't understand it.
"You just don't seem to be getting any fatter,"
she said. She didn't realize that every time she asked Hansel to stretch out his finger, he stretched out an old chicken bone. When 1 month had passed, the old witch finally lost her patience. She just couldn't wait any longer.
I don't care whether he's too fat or too thin. Whatever he is, I'm going to eat him up. Now, Gretel, go and fetch me some water.
Gretel feared for her own life, so she went to fetch the water. She sobbed as she carried the bucket of water to the old witch. "If only the wild beasts of the wood had eaten us," she said, "then at least we would have died together."
Hold your tongue, said the old witch, and fetch me the kettle.
So Gretel had to go and hand up the kettle and light the fire.
First, we'll do some baking, said the old witch. I've already heated the oven and kneaded the dough.
She pushed Gretel towards the oven.
Creep in, said the witch, just to check that it's heated enough to bake the bread.
But Gretel knew she would try to push her in the oven and then eat her up. I don't know how to do it. How do I get in?" she said.
"Ah, you silly little thing," said the old witch. "Look, the opening is big enough. I could get in it myself."
So the old witch crawled towards the oven and poked her head in. Gretel quickly pushed her in and slammed the oven door. When Gretel was sure the witch was dead, she grabbed the key to Hansel's cage and let him out. "We're free at last!" she cried. "The old witch is dead!"
Oh, Gretel.
Hansel and Gretel didn't have to worry about being poor or going hungry again, because in every corner of the candy house they found boxes with pearls and precious stones.
"These are 1,000 times better than the pebbles,"
laughed Hansel. They both crammed their pockets full of them. "Now it's time to get away from the witch's wood for good, just in case there are any other witches lurking around," said Hansel.
Yes, let's go quickly.
When they had wandered around for a while, they came to a big lake. "We can't get over this," said Hansel. "I can't see any boats or bridges." "No," said Gretel. "But look, there swims a duck. Perhaps if I ask her, she'll help us over." The duck swam towards them, and Gretel climbed on her back. "Both of us on her back will be too large a load," she said. So the duck took each of them across separately. When they reached the other side of the lake, they realized that they were not very far away from their father's house. As soon as their father's house was in sight, they ran as fast as their legs would carry them. They found their father all alone, because their wicked stepmother had been banished from the house for good. Oh, how happy their father was to see them. "I thought I had lost you forever," he cried, and he wept with joy. Gretel shook the pockets of her apron, while Hansel emptied his pockets. Many precious jewels rolled onto the kitchen table. "Look, we will never go hungry again, Father," cried Hansel and Gretel. "Yes, and we'll live happily together for the rest of our lives, I promise," said their father as he hugged them both.